Indiana Senator Mike Braun joins us now. Sir, it's good to see you again. As somebody that came from the business side and moved into politics later in life, when you watch Schumer, and let's just go ahead and play him one more time in 2005 on the filibuster. Let's go ahead and put it up.
They want, because they can't get their way on every judge, to change the rules in midstream, to wash away 200 years of history. It'll be a doomsday for democracy if we do.
And then let's play him today.
If Senate Republicans continue to abuse the filibuster to prevent this body from acting, then the Senate must adapt, as it has before. Changing the rules, there's nothing new.
So there you go. As somebody that hasn't been in politics for nearly as long, watching the way that they talk, it's astounding, isn't it?
When in the business world, we'd always say the sizzle or the steak. And in this case, when you look at the hypocrisy, have they forgotten that there's a thing called video, that you're on record doing it? And when I ran my campaign back starting in late 17 through the election in November of 18, it didn't make any difference. I remember when I asked, well, what are they going to base the campaign on? Well, you're a business guy. I said, well, I started a business in my hometown, kind of Mayberry RFD, where you're going to be heartless. I said, based on what? They don't care. They run with some type of agenda, think they control Madison Avenue, and then get you to believe it. And let's look at the issue we're talking about. Did you hear any complaints from them about voting issues pre-COVID? They kind of commandeered through election commissions and special judicial rulings to change the rules based upon COVID, and then they want to make them permanent, and then complain about any of the state legislatures that would just rather take it back to something that makes sense. And ironically, some of the worst laws regarding elections would be in places like Delaware and New York, where they had some of the fewest early voting days. Right. Hypocrisy just is streamed throughout their approach. It doesn't make them any difference because they control the mainstream media. They think January 6th now, look how they've been playing that up to generalize it in the imminence of another one of them. That is their game. They're political entrepreneurs, opportunists, and it's playing out in full color here. We can't let them get by with it.
It is something else. What they're talking about as far as running an election in the first world countries, we would have one of the least secure elections in the world. They're pushing this because they continue to tell us that we find no evidence that anything went wrong. They say that there's no evidence that there was anything that happened in the last election. It was the most secure election in history. They can find a security expert that will promise us that. But I don't think Americans believe that. I don't think Americans really believe that there aren't pockets all over the place where people are taking ballots. When you mail out ballots, in some states, they mailed out ballots to every single registered voter, whether they wanted one or not, and they just sent them to their last address. Half the time, not half the time, but a lot of the time, those people aren't even there. You've got harvesting. You've got stories like we're seeing out of Georgia today. People know bad things happen when you don't go to the polls and vote. There's a value to elections. They're worth a tremendous amount of money. There's a huge incentive for people to do screwy stuff, and you're mailing out ballots to everybody. How on earth is that sustainable?
Yeah, and then when you talk about any election integrity issue or irregularity, then you become a voter suppressor. And they use those buzzwords like racist, suppressor, the big lie, and then promote around it. And a lot of it has to do, Rob, with the fact that their basic agenda that at least independents look at, they want solutions. We should be offering, as Republicans, small government solutions on a lot of these issues.
Yeah.
Where has he done anything? Even on COVID, I'm going to fix it. He poo-pooed the vaccine. He and Harris said they never take the Trump vaccine, and then they run with it. Then they try to make everybody marinate in fear. Obviously, what many of us talked about early on, it was going to take more than just a vaccine approach, therapeutics and other methods relying on individual responsibility, businesses to put protocols into place. It's all falling apart. Then they seize on an issue like this, but don't put it past them because I think they will twist the arms. Imagine if there were 2 or 3 more Democrats in the Senate, you wouldn't even have Sinema and Manchin as your firewall.
Yeah.
dangerously close. We need to make sure we change that in 2022.
Understood. Certainly do. Indiana Senator Mike Braun, thanks for staying up late for us. Good to see you, sir.
You bet.